Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. Bradley's mother, Narcisse Golan, passed away 3 months ago. Bradley is autistic and needs structured routines and therapies he receives for his autism 6 days a week. However, Italy just entrusted Bradley to the Italian Social Services. If he is ruled to go back, he will face the next 3 to 4 years in the Italian foster care system, where he can't speak or understand the language. He will then be taken away from the only family he has ever known. Please call Governor Hochul, New York State, 518-474-8390. That's 518-474-8390. Hashtag keep Bradley safe. I have a return guest back on. I'm happy to have Ernest Rodriguez back onto the podcast. He was last on November 12th of 2022, season 3, episode 151, where we discussed his case as Judge Denise Brown has gone wild in her courtroom, refusing to look at his evidence. And, this has been a very long, ongoing domestic abuse relationship, both physically and emotionally draining from his ex, the mother of his child, as well as Judge Denise Brown herself. So I welcome you back to my podcast, Ernest. How are you doing and how are you faring?
I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. Light always wins and darkness never wins.
Mm-hmm.
Since the last, I guess I'll start off from there. Denise Brown ordered me to pay $15,000 by December or throw me in jail. So I paid the $15,000. Well, it was to pay $15,000, throw me in jail, and pass my hearing till, you know that game, indefinitely, yes, or as long as they can. And so I paid the $15,000, and then the hearing came up, and she was on vacation, she said. So it actually was passed after I'd paid the $15,000. And so then we rescheduled for another hearing in her awful court.
Yeah.
For the 16th of March, which was just last week. She manipulates and lies in her courtroom so she can choose the outcome of how it's going to play out.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we had, and I'm going to go back and try to get the transcripts of everything in so I can have that on file, was evidence that was put in through the courts, because you go through, she has her clerks and things like that. And, they'll say if it was received and, confirming through emails. But she says she never got it.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that's just a bold lie. Everything that comes out her mouth is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to deal with that, or try to, we had to deal with that. And then we try to present our case, which, we had to go back. Here's evidence of my daughter's living conditions. Well, I don't want to hear that. Okay, well, well, what would you like to talk about, Judge? Since, this is, I guess this, unfortunately, this is your little space of 1,200 square feet or so. So what would you like to talk about?
Maybe she wants to talk about her Instagrams where she's teaching people how to do their nails and hair.
Well, yeah, I don't know what. So then, we present as much as we can of our case, and she's sitting there and not she already knows what her outcome of what's going to be, because she's not going to listen to our side, and she's going to deny any evidence. And so, I mean, it's a waste of time, because she's sitting on the bench. So, you know, we present what we had. Nothing was, there was no outcome. It was more of frivolous and topics that were surface topics that really didn't mean anything. You know, the petitioner side, which is the petitioner side, is I'm the respondent and they're the petitioner. The other side is the petitioner. And one thing that struck me is we couldn't bring up evidence or talk about things that happened on a certain date, on a certain timeline, but the petitioner could bring up things that came up on a timeline that we were not supposed to talk about. So, you know, it was
That's
and that's
biased.
just, it's all biased. I mean, it's the most corrupt. You know, I was talking to another person, and she's actually, there's a rating system out there, and I don't know how many categories, but she's the lowest rated judge in just about all the categories, which, I mean, go figure. Of course, she's going to be the lowest rated judge. And it didn't go anywhere. I think, you know, this was last week, so there's no ruling or anything like that. I came in with the, modified to change child custody to more than just what I have now, because the state law says that I have at least minimum shared.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 4-bedroom house. My daughter has a bedroom and a playroom, and the mother lives in her parents' basement, but she's got sole custody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just where it's at, right?
Yeah, and you've been treated horrifically by your ex. I've seen your evidence. There's concrete evidence of why you should have your daughter. And I don't understand. I don't know. Maybe you remind her of some guy that dumped her before prom. I don't know.
Who, the judge?
Yeah. You
Oh,
know,
the judge would never be able to date a caliber guy like me.
well, I'm just making a,
with with her looks, no guy around would ever even come close to looking at her.
right. Well, maybe you remind her of somebody who dumped her before prom. And so she, or, you know, I don't know. I've heard judges are triggered by people's looks or what they're wearing or what.
She's triggered by my looks for sure, because in this last court hearing, I was just looking at her because she was talking.
Mm-hmm.
And she said I was glaring at her to quit looking at her and look the other way, is what she said. And I'm just like, wow, how unprofessional of a judge to even say that. My response is like, well, what would you like me to look at?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she told me to look the other way. How childish and immature and unprofessional of a judge.
Mm-hmm. And what she's doing, not to only, well, you, but other people, I can't imagine.
There's been, yeah, I've kind of dug a little deeper, because Judge Denise Brown will never be able to beat me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people out there that she's done wrong. She's been biased. She's done the exact same thing to me. I could not tell you how many other people that she's done this to. And we're kind of getting we're kind of opening communications with everybody, and I'm listening and hearing to all these stories that are they're exact same way. It's this, she's got this same pattern where she will not listen to, will not accept evidence, will not listen. She's already got her mind made up when everyone walks in, who's going to win that the hearing, and who's going to, the outcome of it before anybody walks in. It was so bad that my attorney was going to, how you cross-examine. So, I say what I'm going to say, and then their attorney cross-examines, or, starts asking me questions. Well, my attorney knew already the outcome, that it was just not going to go anywhere. So she's just like, well, I'm just not going to even cross-examine, because it doesn't even matter with this judge. So.
Oh, I would at least put it on the record.
What do you mean put it on the record?
Like be cross-examined, say what you want to say, and get it on the record. Your attorney might say, oh, that's not going to matter because we're going to lose anyway. Well, get it on the record, so when you go to appeal, it's there. I never missed a chance to go on the witness stand. I don't know what else to call it, because that's where people go to lie. But when you tell the truth, that's when you get screamed at.
Yes. The judge would not listen to anything I had to say. And I've been working on this. What's going to happen is she's going to try to, I just have a feeling that she's going to try to stick me with their attorney fees again. Just, because she wants, her thing is to bury you with as much fees as possible, so you can't do anything. So you won't be able to do anything. She's done.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I wonder how much cut she gets out of those fees.
Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder how much, because she's getting paid on from it all. It's an economy for her.
Oh, right.
So she's making money off of all of this.
Off of human suffering, off of human trafficking.
Yep. So that's where it's at right now. It was supposed to be 6 hours, and I think we went 7 hours, but it was just 7 hours of just spinning our wheels, because ultimately we're never going to get anywhere in this individual's courtroom as of now. So we're just going to have to figure out how to win in other ways. Basically get her off the bench, because she doesn't need to be on the bench anymore. No,
I think no. She's doing great on Instagram with her hair and nails. I think maybe she should stick with that.
Yeah. She should stick with that. She's a horrible judge.
What a shame to have the title of the Honorable and be so dishonorable.
It's exactly what, because when you go in, you have to stand up to show respect. And I'm thinking of all the what is it, Colin Kirkpatrick, NFL, where he refused to stand up to show his respect for other matters. And I didn't want to stand up, because there's no respect for this type of individual. She has a title called judge, okay, but I have zero respect for any individual like that, that's going to lie and manipulate and take people's money, steal people's money.
Yes. I think it should be looked into as to what her cut is out of that money that you paid her, that 15,000. Does she get 3,000 out of it? Does she get 4,000 out of it? She's got to get something out of it, I'm sure. I would think. People
She
say
does.
that. Yeah. And that's very scary. I mean, $15,000 is a lot of money. To me, that's a lot of money. Even if she said 3,000 to hand over, that would be a lot of money to me. And to do
Yep.
that, and you have a family to support as well as your own daughter to worry about and support who's living in a basement.
Yep. Well, she was really concerned with my income. That's one of the biggest,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, go figure. One of the biggest subjects was my income, what type of house do I live in, what type of house did I live in here in Louisville, stuff like that. That's what her most concern was. Not about her most concern was, you know, how much money can she pull out of this person as opposed to my daughter and her living conditions, because this is a child custody case, so
Mm-hmm.
let's put the child first, but that's not the case. She put her own interests first, money.
And I think that also ties in with the Title 4D funding. So, you know, these high conflict cases are really high income cases. And since you have a high income and this person's living in a basement, they figure they're going to get this Title 4D incentive money out of you via the enforcement of child support. And on top of that, she's extorting attorney fees. This is absolutely disgusting.
Yep. Well, one of the attorneys is Janice Littner, and definitely a person like Janice Littner, who represented the petitioner for the majority of the case. And that's who the money went to, was Janice Littner, the $15,000. And I can I can tell that she's just as crooked
Oh, yeah.
as the judge.
Mm-hmm. They're all working in tandem. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yep.
Go ahead.
There was and before we got into the hearing, my attorney told me that there was some sort of conference um, that all the judges were invited to about it was children, how to navigate through child custody and putting the children first. And all the judges but one judge did not attend. And I'll give you one guess on what judge did not attend that conference that was about making your courtroom better for child custody.
Yeah. Well, she maybe was getting her nails done that day. No, seriously, we had a judge, and it was called out in the newspaper that she would call off hearings for getting her hair and nails done. She got zapped on that, but they really didn't do anything to her,
Yep.
Oh,
Well, I have a little momentum from a news outlet. Um, and I've had several people email these news anchors, and so we'll see what happens. They said they've started an investigation, but I told them it's going to be like a David and Goliath, and there's going to be some people that are going to want you to stop because it's just You know, it's kind of like an Aaron Brockovich type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we'll see.
Well, if Erin Brockovich can do it herself, they even went as far as to make a film that also angered people about Erin Brockovich. So they covered that. If they can do that, I'm sure they can handle Judge Denise Brown.
Oh yeah, but you know, what if it's deeper than Judge Denise Brown? What if there's all kinds of other attorneys involved? And you know, the saying, um, there's a saying that if you got one bad apple inside of a bunch of bad apples, you know, eventually they're all going to rot.
Mm-hmm.
And there possibly is one other judge that's kind of starting to be like Denise Brown. So,
Yeah, one bad apple spoils a barrel,
yep.
and they all cover for each other.
Same thing with, you know, if you file a JCC, um, Denise Brown knows about it, and she usually shuts it down. And not only does she try to shut it down and knows about it, she attacks the people that sent the JCC. So,
See, that's what the press needs to know about. The press needs to know that this underhandedness is going on and destroying lives. You know, the children's life is being destroyed, and you're being just, I don't say, you're being affected as well.
oh no, it's affected
It's
me. It's hurt me more
mm,
than, you know, the petitioner calls the police on me for anything. If my daughter, so the court says 5 minute phone call. If my daughter doesn't it has a phone call and it's 4 minutes and 45 seconds, she calls the police. And she calls the police for anything. And you know, I'm sorry, in this world, if a woman calls the police, she's a victim no matter what.
at the taxpayer's expense. So
Yep.
if your phone call is supposed to be 5 minutes long and you're staying on with the child for 4 minutes and 50 seconds, she's calling the police on. That's custodial interference.
Well, the court says that she gets a 5 minute video call, so you know she's going to call. She's going to have a welfare check. You know, even though she lives in the basement and my daughter has a 4 bedroom house, she's going to, you know, she's the mother. The petitioner likes to cause chaos, and that's. I'm not going to say the judge doesn't get it or doesn't understand it or doesn't see it. Because she refuses. Denise refuses to look at it. She lets this go on, and I guess, you know, uh, um, a case with Stephanie Russell, I believe,
Mm.
and I mean, same sort of situation. You know, you get attacked and attacked and attacked and attacked and attacked and attacked, and you're backed up in a corner. I mean, what do you do?
Mhm.
They This judge puts you in this situation where there's no options. So
She's she's power mad with a screw loose. You know, and I'm so tired of judges calling parents crazy when they should maybe get a psych eval themselves.
really should do that before they, um, and they don't do that because they really should have a mental health evaluation, because they are ultimately responsible for
Mhm.
many people's lives. But Denise Brown likes to endanger people's lives,
Mhm.
and she loves it. She thrives on it.
Yes, she's a sadist. it- it's really very troublesome when we're all taught to think that, we're going to be protected. You go to the courthouse, the judge is going to be fair, the right thing will be done, justice will be served, and it's not happening.
That's one thing. I looked at the front of the courthouse and there's justice. And then you walk in and there's another sign that says justice. And there's like 5 or 6 signs that say justice. But when you walk into Denise Brown's court, justice is thrown out the door. There is no justice in Denise's court.
No, she makes up the rules as she goes along, and she's not following procedure.
Oh, no, not at all. And she has become more and more haughty as time progresses. It's more blatant, and it's just, there needs to be a stop to it.
Right, right. Well, the mighty shall fall. That's what it says in the Bible, which is, I found very odd that when I was in court, they want you to raise your right hand and swear. What are we swearing on? There's no Bible in there. What are we doing?
Yep. That's a good point. There's no Bible in there. And I'm pretty sure that if there is no God and Holy Spirit in that courtroom.
No.
That's why I've always said in that court, anger, hate, and darkness thrive in that courtroom.
I agree. Well, who goes to work wearing a black Halloween costume? If you think about it, a black robe, it looks like a graduation gown. However, these judges' gowns, I've looked it up, they can cost around $400 and some.
Oh, wow.
Fun fact. But I think the black gown to me represents evil.
Yeah. The whole system is corrupt. Yeah. And another thing I told my attorney, Denise thinks this is a criminal court. This is not a criminal court. This is a family court. I'm in this court because I am fighting to protect my daughter. I am not a criminal, but that's not how she feels.
And you're being punished for protecting your daughter. And she is going to, when you said, what if this problem is bigger than Judge Denise Brown? And the only thing I can think of is the Title 4D incentive and the child support enforcement, where, they, for every dollar you pay in child support, the state takes, and every state's different, but maybe that's it, because she sees you as a walking ATM and she wants to keep you there for the money while your child is being neglected or whatever's going on over there.
Which is the reason that she never resolves any issue.
It's got to be the Title 4D incentive. If someone wants to correct me, please do. But it's all about the money. But she has to be ethical. She should be ethical. She should be fair. She should be a judge people actually look up to and say, oh, we got the fair judge here. This is great. But she's giving herself such a bad name.
She has no integrity.
No integrity.
I don't know how she was raised, but she has no integrity.
I don't know. When I worked in the ER, I remember going into a patient's room, assessing them, and then walking back out to my desk or whatever. And as I walked out, I heard the one patient's family member say, "Oh, we got the nice nurse. We got the nice one this time." And I wonder, what if she changed her tune and did the right thing, looked at people's evidence, ruled appropriately, and you could actually walk out of there and say, "Oh, we did well this time. She did the right thing this time."
So you mean to say, what if she did her job?
Yes.
Yep. She doesn't. She doesn't do her job.
No.
Like I said at the first podcast, she's just there to pick up a check, to make money at everyone's expense.
Yeah, that's disturbing. Because when you think about choosing careers, say for instance, we'll just say nurses. Nurses go into it because they like to take care of people, and they're nurturers, and they're empaths, and that's just how they are. But when these attorneys turn into judges, they become a completely different animal.
Well, I talked to another judge that is in that circuit, and he was like, "That's the best $250. I think that's what it costs to try to apply to become a judge." He's like, "That's the best $250 she's ever spent," because she got elected and then she was a judge. But I think it was a lottery type of ticket for her, because I don't think she had even planned in her career to be a judge. She just saw an opening, and there was an opening, and I don't think anybody ran against her the very first time. And she just fell right into it. And unfortunately, she's ruined many people's lives because she doesn't do her job.
It's pathetic. Pathetic what she's done to people. And, these people that, you're the respondent. Everyone's got to start writing complaint letters along with the complaint form that you were telling me about that has to go into the judicial complaints. But it's got to be an affidavit of their behaviors. You can be upset with their rulings. Somehow that's okay. But you have got to document their behaviors, like her telling you to look the other way. Well, stand in the corner. Yeah,
pretty much.
And that has to be documented. That's like inexcusable. That's unethical. And say you file your complaint and you do your affidavit on their behaviors, and that comes back, you get a namby-pamby letter saying, well, it's not unethical enough. Then you can make a phone call them up and say, "I'm really not happy with this letter. What else can I do?" And what I would tell you to do is fill out another affidavit, be more detailed in your complaint of her behaviors. Like, did she just, give you a look? Like, something just really triggering, something, whatever, write it down, be more definitive, and submit it again with the affidavit and another complaint.
Okay. So the JCC has 6 individuals who look over it. Do they, I guess out of the 6, or maybe 3 or 4 of them, I think 4 are judges, or maybe 3 are judges, 1's an attorney, and 2 are just people that live in Kentucky. I've looked them all up, found out everything about them. No, so I haven't done anything with it, but I know them all now.
Well, I think the ones that reside in Kentucky, and maybe they've never seen the inside of a courtroom or how she behaves. I'm curious if they're just laymen or.
Yeah, I would like to know a little more about those 6 individuals when you file a JCC. Do they all 6 get together? And I mean, somehow Denise finds out that you filed a JCC. Do they say, hey, look, this is a JCC against you?
Well, none
I
of
don't
them
know.
want. Yeah, I mean, they all find out about it. I filed a complaint to the AOPC on one of my judges, and he found out like 2 days later. But that's I didn't care. I thought he deserved it. Um, but this is how we have to keep people in check. If your nurse did not give you the right pain medication or not the right dosage, you know, another nurse would have to report that and turn that in. So are these people all intertwined? They all know each other. I'm really getting tired of this.
I know. Yeah,
You know, this.
that's a question I had. Are they all friends?
Mhm.
I don't see how they could be friends with Denise,
Right.
but
Right. And that's just it. Unless she's paying people off. That's
yep.
another question. Um, I-
That's a sticky subject to know where the migration of um, what do you corruption is at. Where
mhm.
so
Well, all this sludge seems to surface at some point. Look at what happened to Alec Murdaugh.
yeah, yeah.
So,
The thing about with Murdoch, how long did it take him before they finally got him? I mean, he was old. I don't want it to go that long. I won't allow it to go that long.
mhm. Yeah, how old is he? How old was he? Trying to let me look that up. He was in his 50s, right? Um, I, I don't know how old Judge Denise Brown is. I don't know if you know her age.
She looks 60.
Okay, so Alec Murdaugh is 63 years old. I guess I would say luckily he was never a judge. Can you imagine that? Um,
He'd fit right in.
yeah. So your judges in your state, when do they retire? Or do they just let them stay on the bench till they're 70?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Because that's pretty scary because when my judge died, now let's have a moment of silence. Okay, so when that happened, they pulled a judge who was retired out of retirement to look at my case, where I got no due process. And he just got up off the bench and just walked out with no due process. He didn't even run a hearing like he was supposed to. It's another podcast in itself. But these judges should not be able to sit on the bench this long without psych evals at least every other year and drug testing. I think mandatory drug testing.
You
You know,
know, I think since there's circuits and districts, maybe there should be a circuit overseer that comes through every year and sits in on these and looks over reports. And but there's not. There's
mhm,
no accountability to any of these
mhm,
judges.
exactly. I like your idea. I think there should be maybe a team of those individuals employed to do so. And well, I've always said I would like to see family court abolished because it serves no earthly purpose. Just take everything back down to the civil court where you can have your 6-man jury if there's any issue. And if it's a criminal, well, they would handle that anyway. But they've got to get rid of family court because it's completely mishandling everybody's children, parents, loving, fit parents. But I like your idea there, but I think they should employ a team to do this every 3 months and go through these cases. And these individuals cannot party with these individuals that are on the bench,
Yes.
or I don't know if they have a club. I don't know if your courthouse is connected to a club that they'll go to drink afterwards.
Maybe have them rotate every once in a while, so they don't start chumming it up and they become friends, and
Mm-hmm.
have it rotated, have a rotation.
That would be great too. But they've got to stop, this meeting at the bar and deciding your case before you go in there. That's what I had heard about my case, was that they were in the bar and things were overheard and it was about my case. And God is watching.
Yep.
Have you talked to any other individuals that are going to put in more complaints and affidavits?
Yes. We're starting to pick up some momentum here of several people that are going to start, because I think that's the gap that we're missing, is like everybody in this court has a problem with Denise, but one's over here and one's over here, and so they're all over and they're all upset, and I think we need to come together and say, okay, this is how we need to handle it. Let's organize it, and we'll all send JCCs and we'll all tell the news media our stories. That's how I hope that would be how we could gain some traction on this.
Everyone submit their affidavits, go to a notary, your bank. If you belong to AAA, they'll notarize it for free. I know people are traumatized, but if you unite, we the people have got to unite, whether you feel like it or not. And it's hard. I've been through family court. I know it's hard. It's exhausting. It's grueling. And you get out of there and you just lay on the couch.
I slept for 2 days after that because it's just traumatic, emotionally exhausting, emotionally abusing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's an awful feeling. It's especially being in Denise's court.
Definitely. And it brings on PTSD. And when you've been going through family court for years, then that turns into complex PTSD. And, this brings on health issues. Of course, she doesn't care what health issue you're going to end up with, just as long as she gets her way in ruling. But we, the people, have to get together, fill out these JCC complaints, and fill out how she's been behaving and get those sent in and notify media, or come on to my podcast, Slam the Gavel, and I'll fit people in how I can. I'm willing to help because I know this is a horrific situation of human trafficking, extortion, and greed.
Yep.
And I don't want to keep you too long because I know you worked all day, but is there anything you'd like to add?
No, not right now.
How can you be reached if a parent says, oh, yeah, okay, I want to talk to someone about filing a complaint? And
Email me because I can give them all the information they need. My email is Ernest, ERNEST dot enterprises at gmail.com.
and I will put that in the podcast notes. So I thank you for coming forward and being brave enough to expose this, because it needs to be, because your child is suffering and evidence isn't being looked at.
Yes.
So don't jump off. Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Please join us again here with Ernest Rodriguez in the future and other exciting guests. Thank you, Ernest. Thank you.
Thank you.